Conor versus Chandler. Is it on or is it off? I am very reserved at this point, and I'm very reserved to just go, hey guys, if you really want to see Conor, you're something, part of your life is revolving around that, don't panic. But to act as though there isn't an anxiety, I must share that I think that there is. And to make this fight, you needed 3 sides. And I share that with you because you always need 3 sides, but you guys don't usually see it, and usually it isn't relevant. If you can get 2 fighters that the fans want to see fight to agree, you have a fight. You have a promoter that will come in and sign off on the fight, right? I'm talking about a reasonable thing. Guys are willing to honor their contracts. Guys are within the same weight class. Guys even had contracts, right? I mean, I'm being reasonable on some of this. I'm not trying to be silly, but if you have 2 guys that come out, particularly in today's social media, and they agree to fight and you all want to see it, the third party, the promoter signs off on it. That's not what we saw in this fight. This is one of those where we really saw that it takes 3 sides. In fact, from Conor coming out and saying we're going to have this match, and the way that Conor's been able to do that in the past. The fight with Cowboy Cerrone comes to mind. He announced that in December that he wanted to do it in January. The UFC didn't even have a show that day. They went and scrambled. They put a show together. They booked a venue. They sold the place out in less than 24 hours. I mean, it was a really exciting thing. That's just not what happened here. And for the first time, you guys saw that. Now, the one constant has been Chandler. Chandler has been in from Jump Street. Conor looked as though he was in, and that's where we saw it look like the UFC had reservations, and we don't know what those were. But the UFC had a belief, they had a piece of information that they had reason to believe could conflict with the match to the extent that they did not book the match. Now, the reason I'm bringing you down memory road when I'm telling you that, canceling the press conference for me is not something I can just look the other way, okay? Now, we know that we don't have to have a press conference to have the fight. We know we don't have to have the press conference to have a successful fight or a big fight. We've already got the largest gate in industry history, not just company, in industry history, sitting there and waiting. So we realize what a huge fight that this is going to be. Hold on, guys. Don't leave. This is all part of it. So, all right. Errol Hawani has just tweeted. Latest on UFC 303, around this time last week, all the anxiety surrounded the UFC 303 main event seemed to start to dissipate. By Wednesday, no more feelers about replacements were being sent out. All systems seemed to be a go. Later in the week, Chandler did now it goes to another, so I got to find, excuse me, all systems see a go. Later in the week, Chandler did an interview with the pilot about it being all good. And on Saturday, UFC was promoting again during the ABC Fight Night telecast. There was a scare about the fight being off, and the scare appeared to be no more. But since this morning, multiple sources are now saying feelers are being sent out again for June 29th for a replacement and or a new fight. That means they won't just replace Conor, they'll also replace Chandler. They'll book a whole new fight. In short, there seems to be the premonition all over again regarding the status of the main event for 303. Actually, even more pessimism, it seems, that on Monday of last week, after the presser was canceled at the last minute, is this insurance, due diligence, emergency replacement mode? That all remains to be seen. It's all developing, but it does appear as though we are not out of the woods either way just yet. More to come. Now, that is from Errol Hawani. I want to try to explain that to you guys real fast. I have never been able to get around the fact that the press conference was canceled. And I've asked this to you guys. I've asked this to very smart people, and they will always tell me something like, well, yeah, Conor said he couldn't show up. I go, no, why was it canceled? And they go, I don't know. Conor didn't say, but Conor said he couldn't show up. And I go, no, I want to know why the press conference was canceled. And they'll keep coming back to Conor. They'll keep coming back to Conor, and I'll keep coming back to, why was it canceled? I get that Conor wasn't going to be there. Why was it canceled? I can't get around that. We've had press conferences in the past where guys have not shown up. We have had Conor McGregor press conferences where he did not show up multiple times. And, when you say you're going to have a press conference between Conor and Khabib does his part, gets up and leaves, and Conor's not there yet, and then an hour later it comes and it's at a time, and 2 hours later than it was announced, that's not showing up for me. I had a press conference against Wanderlei Silva at the Mecca known as Madison Square Garden, a main event of pay-per-view, right? I mean, a pretty big deal, not for nothing. Wanderlei didn't come, he missed his flight, and we zoomed him in. They put a screen up and he came and he did it by Zoom. George St. Pierre, Nick Diaz didn't show, the press conference stood. So I can't ever get around, why did we cancel the press conference? I can't get around that. I get why we wanted to have Conor. But you're not getting my question of why do we cancel it? So now we're in a situation where it comes back to we need 3. We know we've got Chandler. We might even have McGregor. But at some point the UFC is going to say no more. There are rules and there is an etiquette. There is a respect and there's a way things are going to be done. And I'm only sharing for you when Errol Hawani says that they're pessimistic, or when they say that they're putting feelers out. Yeah, maybe that is due diligence. But somebody knows something that we don't. And far moreover, if Conor McGregor doesn't show up for this, I'm here to let you know any idea that you have that he's still fighting or he's still in the business, or he wasn't feeling good and they're doing it another date, or he and Chandler are going to be somewhere down there. I'm here to let you know now, if you're told that by anybody, you have been given bad information. If McGregor does not show up on June 29th and fight Michael Chandler at 170 pounds, it is the exact same as announcing Conor McGregor's retirement from this sport.